Hey, Emma, that's a good girl. She's been sick the last 4 or 5 days really bad. She can't keep nothing down. She'll drink this bit of water, but then she'll end up upchucking it in a few minutes. She can't keep nothing down. I've been giving her injections of antibiotics for 3 or 4 days and a little bit of pain meds. A couple months ago, she got into I had bought a package of that weather block, that mouse and rat poison, and it was in a bag on the floor of the truck, and she doesn't normally touch any food in the truck of any kind unless it's given to her. And I had an emergency on the way home, and I got out of the truck for 10 minutes, and when I got back in, she had the wrapper ripped open on the weather block, and she had eaten the whole thing, and there was only a few crumbs left. So I raced home, which only was a couple minutes away, and gave her 2 tablespoons of salt and made her throw up everything. And I kept giving her salt every 20 minutes until she was throwing up nothing but bile. Then I put her on vitamin K treatment, and she recovered. You know, she didn't have any issues at all from it at all, and she was doing really good. And one day, about a week ago, she started gagging and choking and gagging and choking, and wasn't throwing up, but it progressively got worse. And she was eating fine and drinking fine, but she'd be just gagging and choking. And tried to get into a vet, but with this virus going on, no vets are taking any new patients. And her original vet was down in Hamilton that did her approval of her hips and her eyes before I bred her, because she's a purebred lab, black lab. And hey, good girl. Yeah, hey, good girl. And then my big Dr. Dan, my big animal vet, he looked after her whenever I needed anything. But 3 years ago, he got out of the small animal business because he was so busy with his beef farm and with large animal calls that he got out of doing the small animal ones. So I had a hell of a time getting vitamin K. I had to order it from the United States because only one vet here in town had it in stock. And it was injectable, but you don't inject it into them. You just put it with some fatty food, 100 cc's twice a day for 30 days. And that keeps the liver producing the stuff that it needs to clot any bleeding. And she recovered well from that with no problem. She'll be 12 years old in April. But now she's gone down, and a friend of mine was here the other day, and even though I'm patting her all the time, they found a big, huge abscess here on the side of her. Now, she had one on her head right here a few years ago, and it blew up as big as a baseball bat, and she went lethargic on me and throwing up food. Another time she had her one in her bottom lip, and she rubbed all the hair off of it, and that one blew up the size of a golf ball. Well, I cut both of those open, and got them to drain. It was all pus and pieces of flesh like tissue. Before I cut them open, I had stuck a needle into them and tried to draw fluid out, and I couldn't get very much fluid, but because it was sucking up little strands of tissue and it was plugging up the needle. So I cut them open and drained them out, and then I filled the syringe with peroxide and I flushed them out. These were 2 different times. One was 1 year and the other one was a couple of years later. And I put the peroxide syringe up inside there and flushed them out 3 times. And the 3rd time, this one here, 2 ticks came out of it from under the hide. And there was all kinds of black crap and stuff, which I assume was the feces from the ticks. In her lip, there was 1 tick that come floating out on the 3rd flush, because the peroxide, I guess, the first 2 flushes killed them, and it let their talons let go from hanging on. So I'm thinking that this big, it's kind of hard. I'm thinking that the same thing is happening here. And so many people said, oh, you're full of it, ticks don't burrow under the hide. Well, they sure do. I wish I had video of the other 2. So what I'm going to do is this is the underside of it here. I'm going to take the clippers and I'm going to shave her hair off in an area right down here in the bottom, because see the ball there? I'm going to shave her hair off, and then I'm going to take a sterile scalpel and I'm going to make a small incision and see what I find. Now, if I find fluid, then I know it's just an abscess. I'm worried it could be cancer, but she's going to die on me one way or another. And I can't lose this girl. And like I say, I can't get her into any vet anywhere. And she's my baby. She goes everywhere I go. And I've done this a number of times on cattle. I've done it on her twice. I've done it on other dogs. And other dogs that I've done, it wasn't a tick, it was just an abscess that somehow formed. But they get so much infection. So look at the size of that. It's huge, this one. So her heart rate is fine. You know, her temperature's been up and down, but I've been giving her injections for pain and antibiotic every day for 4 or 5 days now, and she's just getting worse, weaker and weaker. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if I can film as much as I can. Okay, I sterilized it, shaved it, and sterilized her with 95%, 91% alcohol. Now I know she's got no feeling in it because I've stuck a needle into it several times, and a big needle, trying to draw stuff out of it, and get a tiny bit of pink fluid and a bunch of strands of tissue. And it's not very much, so I'm just going to make an investigating incision right here. I think she's being poisoned by whatever this is. not finding what I'm expecting. But there is pus in there. But it's not a big gusher. I thought it would be. Just like a blob of tissue like that. Again, she doesn't feel no pain in it. Take a break for a minute. Well, that's all I can find in there was a whole bunch of black crap. And I'm still pulling it out here. And that tissue I showed you. I flushed it out good with peroxide. And we'll leave it open to drain. hope it helps. Yeah. Hey. What you doing? Hey? What you doing? What? Hey, Daddy's good girl. Yeah. She's still breathing, but she's been so lethargic. She gets enough strength to get a drink and maybe get up and move 10 feet every once in a while. She hasn't been able to keep any food down for a number of days now. I think this is the 4th day now, I think. Sometimes she'll hold a little bit of water down. Other times she'll throw it right back up again. I'd like to cut that whole lump out, but I'd have to cut her hide right up like this and skin it all out, because I try to get it up in there with my fingers and peel it out of there, but I can't. It's just stuck tight to the hide. It's not fat, and it's just a really hard tissue. Squeeze some more fluid out of it. This is my only guess since we found this that's been probably making her so sick. It does not look like a cancer tumor. I've seen them in dogs. That's just fluid. A little tiny bit of blood in it, not much. Yeah. That'll heal over if she lives. But she's been in really bad shape for many days, over a week now. She's been in really bad shape. And she wasn't responding to any antibiotics of any kind. And then this was discovered on her by a friend of mine yesterday. And I was certain it was probably a tick, but I flushed it 5 or 6 times and nothing has come out. But that doesn't mean to say that it's not caught up in all that tissue that is formed up in there. It just looks like stuff that's been growing, trying to heal up damage that a tick may have done. Hey, baby. Daddy's good girl. Here's Daddy's good girl. Daddy's good girl. My fingers in there once I sterilized her out really good. She's had a good shot of injection of a really good penicillin or antibiotic today. It's hot out here, eh? Yeah, I'm beating down on you. You want to drink water? Want to drink water? No? You're okay? Yeah, you just leave it open like that and let them drain. Because if you stitch it closed, it just seals it back up again, and it starts building up that same pus again. Didn't get a whole lot of pus out of it, but I got a fair amount. And I'm squeezing more out of the lump, which the lump is pretty well gone now. I can feel the tissue in there. Do the same thing with cows. They get a big abscess on them, and you just cut them open and drain it out. That would have done the same thing and charge you $700-800. She's a good girl, Emma. Yeah. A lot of times you look over, like this morning when I got up, she was laying on the kitchen floor. I was talking to her, and she wouldn't even lift her head off the floor. She had her eyes open, but she wouldn't even move her head off the floor, nothing. Just laid there still, and then I tried to lift her head up, and it would just drop onto the floor again. hope and pray that maybe this helped her a little bit. I couldn't figure out for days what was the matter until a friend of mine was over and found that lump on her, which was never there before. She's my baby girl. She goes everywhere I go. She'll be 12 in April. And she's a purebred black lab. Hey, I'm your daddy's girl. Yeah, your daddy's girl. He's still draining out. Yeah, he's still draining out. I like your belly rub, eh? Yeah. She likes her belly rubbed. Yeah. She likes her belly rubbed. See, that just closes up nicely after. I just made like a moonshade. It'll just close up like that on its own after. The hide will tighten up. If she lives. But and I hope she does, because I'm sure she's got a couple more years in her yet. But she's been so sick. But she even does her best to get outside for a pee when she has to pee. But then she gets out here and she falls. She managed to go down the stairs, but she can't get back up. Hey, baby. You want a drink of water? Eh? No? Yeah, that's Daddy's good girl. Yeah, that's Daddy's good girl. It just closes up like that. I just cut a smile. I didn't want to go quite that big, but in order to get my fingers up in there to try and peel out what I did. See, I got, let's see, where is it here? See, I got that out of there. That's what I got out of there. It's just really hard pieces. Yeah. And there's still more in there. But there's still some more in there, but I got it enough cuts into it that everything drained out of it, and it'll just shrivel up and go away if she survives. But she's been at death's door now for 4 or 5 days. Hey, baby. Could have been a tick up in there, but so massive tissue up in there that and hard, but with the peroxide I shot up inside of there to flush it all out, and then I flushed it out once with rubbing out with that 91% rubbing alcohol as well to really clean it out good. That would kill them if they're in there. It'll kill those tickies if they're in there, but I didn't find them. And that's what I was expecting to find, but there's so much, it's almost like a scar tissue that I was pulling out of there from the body healing and trying to heal from where damage is being done by the tick, because I found that same kind of hard tissue in her head, as it got up the size of a soft, not a professional baseball ball. Hey, baby. What you trying to do, eh? You trying to get up? Okay, up you come. Up you come. Up you come. Up you come. There you go. There you go. There you go. She wants to go in the shade. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all we can do for now. And just see what happens. Thanks for watching. She's my baby girl. She's been with me through thick and thin and everywhere I go. And like I was saying, you can't get into any vet. If you're a new patient, they won't take you. And her vet is that did it when she was a puppy, that x-rayed her hips to certify her hips and eyes. He's 1,800 miles away. And then my vet that looks after my big animals, he looked after her, but he dropped the small animals, so he's not doing them anymore. The only thing he can do is give them a rabies shot on the farm only, and some other shot I can't remember for farm dogs. Okay, take care everybody, and we'll talk at you later.